Hey, it's Jake Newton, CPPS, and with this video, I want to talk a lot about, maybe not too much, what does it look like to perform an assessment of your violence prevention and intervention program? We just went through a season of getting a lot of organizations up to date for SB 553. There's a big push to get compliance for July 1st with the plan, with the training, and those considerations. But now we're kind of past that time frame, and it's now the phase of, well, we have to implement all of this guidance that's within the plan. So there's issues that are kind of relevant to that. But also, generally speaking, you might be just starting a program, or you might have a mature program, a comprehensive program, and you're wanting to know, is that in fact the case? So there's several different kind of things I want to break down within this video, but holistically, many of these things can be accomplished within some kind of an assessment. At CPPS, we've got 3 effective different layers of an assessment that we can do, and I'd say quasi 4. Quasi 4th would be, sometimes we're asked to look at certain components of a program. Hey, look at our training and let us know, is it consistent with the prevailing standards and guidance? Or look at our threat management plan, is that good to go? But beyond that, we can go all the way to what we call a full vulnerability assessment. And that's kind of the most robust. And then we have everything else in between that. We have a needs assessment, just identifying basically what the program needs at a high level from a component or from a programmatic standpoint primarily. But when we get into a vulnerability assessment, we're looking at all of the things, whether directly or peripherally applicable to comprehensive violence prevention and intervention. So for us, how we generally do this is we're going to come on site for a couple of days, and we want to look at current culture. Does the culture prioritize professionalism and respect? We want to get a feel for existing operations and how they might be supporting violence prevention and intervention efforts. Of course, looking at physical security considerations and how that relates to workplace violence considerations or specifically active assailant concerns. And then a lot of the portion on site that we'll look at is having conversations with different stakeholders within this process and having an interview or a conversation with those individuals individually so that we can identify what their perspective is about the current program. Does it currently align with certain components of the standards? What are their concerns? What is going well? What's not going well? And looking at this multidisciplinary perspective from maybe it's security, maybe it's facilities, HR, legal, anybody that has a touch point within this program, we want to have a conversation with them as part of a holistic data collection process. The other side of this is we also, before we get on site, we send a questionnaire that has, of course, our prepackaged questions to help us identify where do things currently align with the standards. For example, is there a policy in place? Are there incident management procedures? Is there active assailant plans? Is there training at various levels throughout the organization? And beyond having these things in place, are those things that are in place consistent with the standards? And so we're taking a deep dive look at all of these different issues, conflict management, terminations. We're looking at several different considerations. And within this process, we put together our observations. We pay homage to any existing best practices that are currently available, having done this with a lot of other organizations in the industry and what's just identified best practice, a known, well-performed practice within this space. And then based upon the standards, we'll basically say, if you don't have much in place, you're not consistent with the standards, or if you don't have anything in place for that area, you're not consistent with the standards, or maybe you do have some things in place. And so we'll basically say you're partially consistent with the standards. And if you have a lot in place or you're fully consistent with what the standards, and by standards, I mean whether national standards or if we're looking at specific issues, say for California, if you're consistent with those, we'll outline that and basically make recommendations appropriately. So if you're experiencing any gaps, we'll give you exact recommendations, pathways to get to that level of consistency. In some regards, we'll have clients that, half of the areas we'll just say are consistent with the standards that we review, but still have some opportunity for improvement. We'll put those in there for general recommendations to consider. And then based upon this, as you can imagine, we put it in a report, and we like to think it's pretty prioritized and focus on the issues that need to be easily implemented. And then once that's complete, you have this document that outlines, here's exactly what our observations were, and here's exactly what you can do with those and how you can implement all of those different considerations to get consistent with the prevailing guidance out there. They're a pretty big project. They can take a little while, especially when we take that deeper dive. Needs assessments and looking at individual components don't necessarily take as long, but looking at this whole perspective and sometimes just from an outside lens, it gives fresh eyes to be able to look at perhaps your program if it's already in place, or if you're starting off from a new position, you don't have anything in place. It gives you a really solid roadmap of where you can go with the various components within your program and start building that program so that it is consistent with the prevailing guidance out there. So hopefully you find that helpful if that's something that you're looking to do and something that you're looking to perform within your program. It's a great way to validate where things currently are and a way to identify where you need to be within your process and within your practices and your procedures, your policies, training, all of those different issues. So if you have any questions, or if that's something that, especially now, say with like 553 issues, you want to implement and identify like, hey, we got this plan, but what do we do about it? How do we implement it? Is the plan even good to go? This could be a potential next step to be able to identify how you can really roll those things out. So if you have questions, reach out to us. We're here for you along your journey in building your program. CPPS.com for more questions. But thanks for watching.